Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm Jed Brown, your host for this week's episode, and today we're heading over to Lucerne in Switzerland to join Marco Thali and Fabienne Zemp from Mount Pilatus. Now, Mount Pilatus is Lucerne's landmark mountain. Standing at 2,182 metres, Pilatus offers her visitors and overnight guests a whole host of winter activities which allow those of us who don't ski to enjoy the gloriously clear, crisp mountain air of a snowy winter wonderland with all of the typical Swissness one might expect. So, grab a warm mug of cocoa, sit back and relax as we head over to one of Switzerland's premier mountain experiences. Enjoy. Marco and Fabienne, you are most welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. Great to see you guys.
Hello, nice to see you as well.
Nice to see you.
Very good. First of all, where are you? Are you actually on Mount Pilatus right now as we speak?
Unfortunately not. We are based at the valley station of the cable car going up to Mount Pilatus.
Very good. Well, look, I suppose we should get an understanding, first of all, for any of our listeners that haven't yet checked out Mount Pilatus on the Low Season Traveller website, and they really should because the images are breathtaking. Give us a little bit of an overview to Mount Pilatus, who you guys are and what Mount Pilatus is all about.
So Mount Pilatus is Lucerne's landmark mountain. It's located in the heart of Switzerland, close to Lucerne. And we have different options to reach the summit of Mount Pilatus. There are two cable cars going up on the summit. There is the steepest cogwheel train in the world going up to the top. We also have two hotels on the summit, plenty of restaurants on and around the mountain, and lots of activities to discover.
Really, is it fair to say that obviously it is a mountain, it is a fully fledged mountain, but it's kind of, is it fair to say it's a bit like not an entertainment complex, but it's like a sort of like an activity center in its own right, really? Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, there's plenty of activities you can enjoy on and at the mountain all year round. So the seasons are very different here on Pilatus and its region. So summertime, as Fabian before just explained, we have these two ways to come up to the mountain with the cogwheel railway and with the gondolas. That's possible in summertime. In winter, you have to imagine there are meters of snow on the top and no chance for the cogwheel train to make his track up. So only possible to go up by our cable cars. And also the activities on the north side, so with the stations Günzreck and Fragmendeck, are differing summer and winter time. In summer, you enjoy nice forests, nice hiking trails. We have the rope park, we have the toboggan run, we have a lot of fire plots, a lot of things to do around. And in winter, it gets calmer, it gets colder, whiter, you have snow everywhere, and you can enjoy nice rides sledding down or having a snowshoe hike on this between these stations, because it's not that steep, but on this level it's between 500 meters and 1400 meters above sea level. That's not that steep. After Fragmendeck, it really gets alpine, where you reach in summertime on steep tracks and steep hiking trails to the top of Mount Pilatus.
Very good. And I suppose, just to be clear for our listeners, when we talk about the low season, which usually is the quieter time, and that's why our audience like to travel more, because they prefer everything a bit more calm. But we're talking about predominantly the winter months, right? From kind of November, December, January, February, March kind of time would be the low season, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So we're just coming into the exciting low season. When does the snow start?
That's every year different. It's always a surprise for us as well,
Nice.
but usually around December, I would say December, January, and it can last on the summit until April, even May sometimes.
And what's it like when it does snow? Obviously, the cogwheel railway doesn't run naturally because there's too much snow. So you get up on the gondolas. What's the atmosphere like?
So it's kind of a fairy tale. So it's magical, I would say. It's all white covered, so you can see it even from the bottom that the mountain is now white, covered with snow. It's very calm, and it's just a mythical atmosphere up there.
It must be. Does the snow as well? And you'll have to forgive my ignorance. I don't know about the rest of our listeners, wherever they're listening from. But for me, I'm based here in the Manchester, in the north of the UK. And honestly, we don't get much snow. And me personally, I'm not a skier, so I've never really been anywhere where there's lots of snow. Does it muffle the sound? Does it make it even more sort of silent when it snows?
It definitely does. So it's very calm up there, and you really enjoy this calmness and the nature and everything. It's very clear as well up there. Then even I think the air for breathing is different, and it just feels so fresh.
Yeah, I love that. And again on the photograph which I've used as my backdrop for this Zoom call, where how we're recording this, you can see like a million stars as well. Is it very good for stargazing as well?
Yes, it is. So you're even closer to the stars up there, and
Yeah.
I think you can see them clearer because you don't have like the lights from the city and everything surrounded by you. So it definitely is a place for stargazing.
Sounds absolutely perfect. And then in terms of the other activities for the winter, you were mentioning, Marco, before that obviously the activities are different between the winter and the summer. In the winter, tell us, what are the kinds of activities which people can do when they stay at Pilatus?
In winter, you can, besides just be amazed by the beautiful nature and the calmness, you can do some activities which you can do outdoors. So this will be sledging between the station Fragmendeck down to Grenzerek, which is about 400 meters in elevation.
Nice.
And we have two types of slopes. We have an easy one, an easy slope following a road. And we have a former ski descent, which is now a sledging piste, which is pretty fast, I would say,
Yeah.
on some hills.
Is there because again, I've like I said, I've never been anywhere. For us, sledging is, when you have 2 inches of snow and you go to the nearest hill and you sledge down, and this is what we did as kids, and it was great fun, but then you have to trundle all the way back up to the top. Is it like sort of, and forgive my ignorance, is this a kind of a properly organized thing? Is it almost like with the skiing, there's almost like lifts to take the sledge back and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, you take the gondola. So
Okay.
you go up to Fragmendeck by the panorama gondolas, have your sledge with you, and you sledge down between 4 and 7 kilometers to Grenzerek.
Yeah.
You have a 5 minutes walk to the middle station, sit in the gondola, which brings you up again, and you can do that the whole day.
I love it. You booked me in. Seriously, I would love to do that. And actually, my kids would love to do that as well. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. And if sledding is not a sport for you, or it's too fast, or you are not that adrenaline junkie as maybe Fabienne or I am, you take the snowshoes. We have two circuits, two run courses at two stations, Grenzerek and Fragmendeck, and we have also a connecting course. You can hike up or downhill, whatever you prefer, from Grenzerek to Fragmendeck on a marked snowshoe trail. I think that's one of the best ways to enjoy that winter spirit you find on Pilatus.
Yeah. But again, for those that I've never done snowshoeing either, so I really am absolutely novice at all of this. Is snowshoeing, is it Is it harder work? Is it much harder work than merely walking?
No, it's even easier than walking in snow. For going uphill, for example, you have this heel. How to say? Yeah, some kind of a help on the snowshoe itself, which helps you doing uphill steps easier. So it feels like going on stairs uphill. So it really helps you. You have two poles with you. And I would say, if you've never done snowshoeing before, it takes you 5 to 10 minutes, and you get used to it.
Yeah, I love that. Do you know, it's really, I'm gaining a really sort of strong picture now in my head as to what it would be like. And what I'm thinking is there are many people that I'm sure are listening, and like myself. So look, I don't mind admitting it, I am 52 and I've never skied. And if I'm honest, I'd be nervous about learning to ski right now. However, what I do want more than anything is I want the experience of being somewhere where there's lots of snow, you know, all of the trappings of a ski holiday. Exactly. But without having to do the skiing. And my wife was the same. I spoke to my wife and she was saying, I'd love to go somewhere that's got a proper winter with the snow and the clear air and all of that goes with it. But she doesn't want to go skiing. And what I'm kind of getting from you is that this is actually it's a perfect winter holiday for those that maybe want a true winter holiday, but they're not really fussed about skiing. Is that a fair comment, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. That's what we see as well. That more and more people don't ski anymore, and more like to go into the nature, experience the winter, the fresh air, but do it on a slower, in a slower pace, I would say.
Yeah. I know. You know, for the pace, when we talk about a slower pace, you know, when you were talking about the sledging there before, that seems like it's pretty fast actually, hey?
Yeah, that's it. Definitely.
I love that. I love that. So tell us then, you know, again, when we talk about Pilatus, obviously we've got all of these activities that we can do on Pilatus, but I suppose one of the most important things is that we can stay on Pilatus. So you've got, I think you mentioned at the outset, there's 2 hotels that are, I mean, are they actually at the top of Pilatus or pretty much?
Yes, they are on the very top of it. Yes.
Love that. And so obviously you have quite a few people that you can sort of sleep overnight on the top of Pilatus and wake up in the morning to I suppose a sunrise above the Alps and all of that kind of stuff. Is that about the height of it? Love that. Love that. Are you above the clouds?
In winter, yes. So Lucerne is very often covered in fog. So in the city, sometimes we don't see the sun for weeks. But when you escape with the cable cars on 2,000 meters above sea level, you're over the fog, right in the sun and soaking up, some sunshine.
So you've got a better chance of sunshine on Pilatus than you have anywhere else.
Yes.
Love
Definitely.
that. Perfect. And then you also have, during the low season, like many destinations around Europe, you have Christmas markets at Pilatus. Tell us about the Christmas markets. Where are they and what's special about them?
So they're located as well on the summit, so at the very top of Mount Pilatus. It's always at the beginning of the low season, so usually in mid-November, there is one weekend when we have the Christmas market, which is actually the highest Christmas market in Europe.
Love that.
And there are about 40 different stands. So there is food, but also crafts and stuff like that you can buy up there. And of course, all the rooms and the restaurants are decorated very nice with all the Christmas stuff.
Sounds lovely. And do you have the sort of the glühwein or whatever, the hot?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Love that. And is that the sort of the glühwein again for anybody that hasn't had it, I've only tried it because we have the Christmas markets here in Manchester, and I think they come from Germany. But it's like a kind of a hot wine, right? A sort of a spiced. Is it a bit like mulled wine, right?
Yes, it is actually, and we do have like homemade glühwein, so it's definitely worth to try it up there. And also special on Saturdays, the cable cars are running till late in the evening, so that's also very special when you can ride down after having your glühwein down to the city, and you can oversee the lake and the city with all these lights because it's already dark outside. So that's a very special experience as well.
I love that. I love that. When you talk about that, when you go down on the gondola, how far are you from Lucerne?
So the Valley station is about 15 minutes from Lucerne, so actually very close to the city center.
Is that 15 minutes walk, or do you get the bus, or how do you do it?
Or you get the bus, or if you have a car, you can also come with your car and park it directly at the Valley station.
Yeah. And one point we should point out about buses, and this is going to sound very strange for you guys in Switzerland, but I have to point this out to our listeners that are from the UK. But in Switzerland, the buses, when they're due to leave at 10 past, they leave at 10 past, and when they're due to arrive at 25 past, they arrive at 25 past. My mind gets blown every time I go to Switzerland because that's not how transportation works in the UK. The timetable is a guideline, like roughly 10 past. It might be quarter past, it might be 20 past when it leaves. In Switzerland, transportation actually runs on time, and if there's a timetable, it sticks to the timetable. And I think that's, again, good for our listeners to know. Because, like I said, genuinely, my mind was blown. Same with the trains. I was like, oh, the trains leave on time, they arrive on time. Like, just doesn't happen that way over here. So I think that's a really good point. Tell us about Dragon World.
The Dragon World is also on Pilatus School. It's it's an indoor activity, so it doesn't matter if it's a snowstorm outside or minus 20 degrees or foggy or whatever, and you just like to be inside and show yourself. So it's an indoor activity situated in between the two hotels on top. There you can experience the story of the Dragon Stone. This story is explained with interactive games, with books, with videos. You really experience within half an hour the story of the dragon who lost his stone, his magical stone, in a thunderstorm flying from Pilatus over the city of Lucerne. And actually, the stone, you can also have a look at it in the Museum of Nature in the city of Lucerne as well. And
so this is like a sort of a local legend, really.
Definitely, yeah. There are a lot of legends around about dragons who lived in the early years on Mount Pilatus, so between the mountains here in the central Switzerland.
Lovely, great activity, and presumably that's kind of good for families as well to get involved on that. For kids.
Yeah, makes definitely fun flying a dragon yourself.
Oh yeah, forget the kids. I want to do that. Why not? I love it. Right. Let's also talk about when we were creating the Mount Pilatus page on Low Season Traveller. We're trying to look at the different. The food and drink is one of the reasons why we all travel. Yes, we want to see different destinations, but we want to try different foods and different cuisines and different experiences. What are the kinds of eating experiences that we can have? Eating, I suppose, and drinking. Why not? Eating and drinking experiences that we can have when we stay on Pilatus.
So there are also multiple options. So I would say a very special one for sure is the fondue gondola. So, we Swiss people love to eat fondue in wintertime. It's a cheese fondue.
Yeah.
And we offer it during a ride in our panorama gondola. So you arrive actually at the valley station, can sit in a very comfortable gondola and enjoy some Swiss local cheese fondue during the ride. Of course, you also get a glass of white wine, what we like to drink with it. Yeah, so that's a very nice experience.
And now, so when we talk about fondues again and again, I don't know about our listeners. I'm sure they can write in and tell us this. A fondue for me, because I've never had a fondue in Switzerland before. So fondue for me was we used to get like a packet of some kind of a cheese mix or something and put it in a fondue on the table when we were kids. And it was the big excitement is we're having a Swiss fondue. How's it done in Switzerland? What does a true fondue look like? And how do you eat a true fondue?
Well, a true fondue is melted cheese in a pan over a little fire. You have so long forks, very long forks. You imagine you put a piece of bread on a fork, or potatoes also possible, or pear, apple.
Nice.
Works as well. So you should try. And then you put the bread or whatever you have on your fork into the hot melted cheese and taste it, and it's really delicious.
And do you mix, when you're saying you have white wine with the fondue? Is there white wine in is it just pure cheese, or is there wine in the cheese, or does the wine get involved in the cheese at all?
Yes, when you cook the fondue, you put in white wine.
Right. Okay.
To make it more creamy, to make it more liquid, and of course you drink white wine to it as well.
Love that. So that's part of the experience in those. So, and in the gondola, cable cars sort of carriage, it's 360-degree views. Are they heated?
No, they are not. So you have to wear warm clothes.
Okay.
But the fondue and the wine will keep you warm as well during the ride.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure by the time you get to the top, you'll be plenty warm enough anyway. Fabulous. So that's a real sort of must-do experience when you're there. And then once you're staying on Pilatus, there are other dining options when you get there at the hotels as well, of course.
Yes, of course. So there is at the Hotel Bellevue a self-service restaurant as one option, or at the Pilatus Kulm an a la carte restaurant where you can try other typical Swiss dishes as well.
Fantastic. Listen, I'm absolutely sold on this. Genuinely, I'm going to be speaking to my wife when she comes in later on. I'm going to say I think we do need to get over to Pilatus for this winter experience. We are running out of time. Is there anything else that you should tell us about Pilatus that we don't know already from this podcast before we go?
Wow, it's a very nice experience. You should try once in winter. It's best time would be end November, starting December. I would call it it's the sunset ride.
Okay.
Why the sunset ride? Sunset is very early in end of November, beginning of December. And within our regular rides, so last ride will be 4:30, 4:45. Down from Pilatus Kulm, and sunset just sets maybe 20 minutes before.
Oh wow.
And in winter, it's magical when when it's all white and the sun sets on the further or the far away ridges behind Mount Pilatus. So that's of course so kind of a hidden spot.
Love that.
To do a hidden evening to enjoy, maybe with a glühwein.
Yeah, why not?
And Maronis.
And Peroni. Very good. Well, listen, I think that is all we've got time for. I want to thank you both so much for sharing your passion for Pilatus with us. I think we've all learned so much from listening to you, and like I say, it's somewhere that does sound truly magical, and I would encourage all of our listeners to have a look at some of the images and the videos on the website to see for themselves. What would be here's a question for you, one last question. What would be the perfect duration, would you suggest, if anybody was thinking of going from the UK or Ireland? What would be the perfect duration for Pilatus in the winter?
It really depends on what you like to do. So if you can arrange staying one night on top, you really should do that. That's a once in a lifetime experience, I would say. People who like to do some activities such as sledging or snowshoeing can spend a whole day, but it's also possible to just go up and down by cable car, enjoy the view, some sun, so you're done within 3 hours. So it's really up to the guests how long they want to stay up there.
Okay, I'm going for 3 days. I think that feels about right for me. Perfect. Hey, listen, thank you both so much, Marco, Fabienne. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I look forward to seeing you next time, except at Pilatus.
That's great. Thank you.
So there you have it, and you can learn more about Mount Pilatus by visiting lowseasontraveller.com or indeed pilatus.ch, where you'll be able to see for yourself the incredible views and vistas which Marco and Fabienne spoke about in this episode. But that's our show for this week. Thanks, as always, for your company. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a positive rating and review on your podcast app. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to be the first to hear our latest low season stories, articles, and guides. That's it though from us. Have a great week wherever you are, and remember that travel is always better and fairer for the planet, the local communities, and you, the travellers, when it's without the crowds.